Who's actually going to get the most out of a pre-built like the AVGPC Blizzard series, and who should just keep scrolling? If you're a gamer who wants a high-end rig out of the box but isn't prepared to spend weeks hunting parts, this might be your sweet spot. If you're a budget-conscious player who can wait for a sale, or you already have a solid motherboard and want to upgrade piece by piece, the Blizzard could feel like overkill. And the big question everybody asks, does the price justify the performance for a typical just play Megamesterday buyer? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the real-world scenario most of us face when we turn on a new gaming PC. You plug it in, fire up your favorite title, say, Cyberpunk 2077 or Elden Ring, and you want those ultra settings to stay steady without the system screaming for more airflow. The Blizzard ships with an Intel Core i7-12700KF, a 12-core beast that splits into 8 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. In practice, that means you'll see smooth frame rates in modern titles even when you throw the CPU at its limits with background streaming or voice chat. The RTX 5060, while not a flagship GPU, sits comfortably in the 1080 PTO 1440p sweet spot. My own testing with a 144Hz monitor showed consistent 90+ FPS in most AAA titles at high settings, and you still have headroom for ray tracing toggles if you're willing to dip the frame rate a bit. Now, where the Blizzard really tries to differentiate itself is in the accessories it bundles. Most pre-built sellers force you to buy a separate keyboard, mouse, or even a case upgrade. AVGPC throws in a decent mechanical keyboard and a gaming mouse, both of which are adequate for casual and competitive play. If you're the type who buys a new PC and then immediately spends another few $100s on peripherals, this inclusion can shave off a lot of extra cost and hassle. The case itself, Cooler Master TD500 Mesh in white, offers good airflow thanks to its perforated front panel, and the 360mm liquid cooler with ARGB fans keeps the i7's temperatures sitting around the low 70s Celsius under load. That's a pleasant surprise because many pre-builts either skimp on cooling or hide it behind a noisy fan grille. But the value proposition isn't just about the hardware you get on paper. The Blizzard's 1TB NVMe SSD is fast enough to load worlds in seconds, and the 32GB of DDR4 RAM means you won't be swapping out to page file during heavy multitasking. For someone who streams, edits videos, or runs a handful of background apps while gaming, those extra 4GB beyond the usual 16GB can actually noticeable. You'll feel the difference when you have Discord, OBS, and a browser all open while you're in the middle of a raid. Let's talk about who should skip this rig. If you're a hardcore enthusiast who wants to overclock the CPU or swap out the GPU for something like an RTX 4090, the Blizzard's 850W gold-rated PSU might limit you down the line. It's solid for the components that come with the system, but it's not built with the kind of headroom that a future-proof build demands. In short, if you're planning to tinker with the internals, you might be better off buying a bare-bones motherboard and assembling your own machine. Also, the RTX 5060, while capable, isn't going to push 4K at ultra settings. If you own a 4K TV and expect buttery smoothness at the highest graphical fidelity, the Blizzard will feel underpowered. Another hidden trade-off is the software side. The machine ships with Windows 11 pre-installed, which is fine for most users, but you'll still have to go through the usual Windows updates, driver installs, and occasionally deal with bloatware that some manufacturers load onto their systems. I found that the AVGPC support team in the US was responsive when I needed a BIOS update, which is a comfort factor you don't get with overseas-only warranty services. Still, you should factor in an hour or two of initial setup time that you'd otherwise skip if you bought a system that already came clean. From a buyer intent perspective, the Blizzard shines for gamers who want a rear ditto play experience with minimal tinkering. Think of someone moving into a new apartment, getting a first gaming desktop, or a parent buying a gift for a teen who's already into stream-ready titles. The inclusion of a keyboard and mouse, plus the aesthetically pleasing ARGB lighting, gives that unbox and go feel. The pre-installed Wi-Fi 6 module adds the convenience of a clean, cable-free setup, especially in rooms where running Ethernet isn't ideal. On the flip side, the same pre-built approach can feel like an unnecessary premium for the more frugal buyer. If you already own a mechanical keyboard, a decent mouse, and you're comfortable sourcing a case yourself, You could probably assemble a comparable system for a lower overall cost, especially if you hunt for component sales. The price point of the Blizzard, though not disclosed here, tends to sit in the mid to high range for pre-builts, so you're paying for the